My name is Alan Katzman, and I am with Social Assurity, and I want to thank HECA and the leaders at HECA for giving us this opportunity to deliver this webinar to its membership. We at Social Assurity have a lot of ideas and thoughts on the way social media engagement can be a positive impact on college admissions. And what I want to walk you through here today is some of our deep thinking on the subject and to give strategies that you can pass along to your students and your families that you work with. One of the struggles that I have when I give these webinars is to figure out where to start. And typically, I start with percentages of teens that are using social media, and I throw in the Kaplan social media survey statistics, but I'm taking a different approach today. One of the things that struck me over the past couple of weeks is the number of schools that are reporting record applications received in this admission cycle. Now, the reason why that really struck me as interesting is because I'm reading about the decrease in the number of international students applying to U.S. schools, and also that this application pool is smaller than in years past. But yet schools like Bates, Boston College, Tulane, Penn, Florida State, in the past couple of weeks have said they once again have broken records. There's reasons for that. And I think this is setting up what I want to discuss, this application overload. If you view colleges as businesses, right, there's three levers that leadership of these colleges want to achieve, because a lot of them are getting paid based upon achieving these levers. And that is an appearance of selectivity, which gets you onto the U.S. News World Report list. And since there are not going to be decreasing revenue seats, right, the only way to increase or increase selectivity is by receiving more applications each cycle. And as you can see here, small liberal arts colleges such as Bates, which has a class of 521, they were able to receive this past year over 7,600 applications. And it goes on, Boston College, Tulane, Penn, Florida State. The other lever, besides selectivity, the other lever is yield, right? They want to grant admission to students that are likely to enroll. High yield, low selectivity is two great metrics. But there's a third, and that is bringing students into your school that will be revenue-producing assets for 4, 5, or 6 years. So the fact is that they are achieving, they're coming up with ways to get more applications. And they're doing that in many ways by decreasing requirements. For example, Bates, small liberal arts school, good school, SAT optional. They got rid of their supplement. So they're making it easier for students to apply. A lot of these schools are using CRM and other enrollment management tools to get interest of prospects to apply. So I think it's important in the realm of understanding social media strategies to understand that the Kaplan survey, which says 35% of admissions officers checked social media, is not giving us enough information. So if I move on to the next slide, you have large public universities. And I think one of the greatest places to look for a lot of information is on the school website. Let's take Penn State, for example. They received 60,000 applications. All right, and they're coming right out and saying GPA accounts for approximately 2/3 of the admission decision, and the remaining 1/3 is, again, very traditional metrics: standardized test scores, class rank, personal statement, activities list. Chances of them going and looking at social media, not going to happen. There's too many. Colleges like UCLA, a lot of the UC schools, Berkeley, who receive 60, 70, 80,000 applications. right? They're a different breed. But let's take a look at some of these other schools. And as college counselors, you see this a lot. You know, these terms of character, commitment, maturity, and fit. And I bring you to Northwestern. Okay? And if you go to their website, they're talking about the fit factor. How you see yourself thriving here. Now again, they want to get students that are going to be there for 4 or 5 years. And these elements of character become an important point for them to consider. So if we look at fit at Northwestern, what they're asking for, this is right on the website. What topics are you excited to explore? How have you shown initiative in learning more about the world around you? What roles have you played in the communities around you? Family, school, religious, service organization. What types of involvement? These are all elements that they want to consider in addition to merit, in addition to your GPA, your class rank, and your standardized test scores. And they're even offering students to take a look at their Facebook, Twitter, Instagram accounts to get an idea of how current Northwestern students, right, what traits and attributes they have to fit in. And I'm bringing this up because not every school is cut equally. You've got another school now, College of Charleston. This one's really interesting. Small, fine school in a beautiful city, and they are holistic. So they're saying here from their website, we consider many elements of your application during the holistic review. Your overall academic preparedness, your talents, your leadership, extracurricular. But it gets more interesting for College of Charleston. So on their website, they say meet your counselor, all right? And basically they have a map. So if you live in a certain state or area, you can see who your counselor is. And then it says, then introduce yourself. Follow them on social media. Follow them on social media. And here they are. Here's the counselors from the College of Charleston, right? These are digital natives. Look at them. And I'm the one top center, I just picked randomly, and in about 2 seconds, I was able to find Christina using Google. All right. And look what comes up. You know, her bio from College of Charleston. And it shows her Twitter account, her LinkedIn account, her Facebook account. And here they are. I mean, she's present, she's discoverable, and they're inviting students to follow her. We're going to come back to this in a second, but this is a very interesting path that schools are taking. And I think we're going to give you some good insight now if we look at the initial app review. All right. Admissions officers, especially at the smaller private schools, could take a look at the students' achievements online, at their service, community, family, volunteering service, religious service, and their attributes, their maturity, their credibility. Are they ready for college? Going back to what I said earlier, you know, the hope is that you're going to get students who have shown commitment to activities, resilience, because if they hit a speed bump at college, they're not going to quit. They're going to work through it. Again, they want students for 4, 5, 6 years. Enrollment yield. This is big for them. They have invested, I think it's close to over 50% of colleges and universities have an enrollment management tool. All right. These tools are tracking Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn engagement from prospects. And this is happening algorithmically. All right. And then once you get through the student is qualified, they're likely to enroll. Well, what do we have to offer them to get them here? And one thing we know as a fact is a lot of schools don't want to give money to students of bad character. Right? It's an embarrassment to the school. There's a vested reputational interest in them taking a look. Now, remember the schools from the first slide. The schools are trying to get more and more applicants to enroll. not enroll, to apply. But they're getting more applicants, more applications, but they're also lightening the load of the amount of information they're asking for. So it's very hard for them to distinguish from a merit or purely academic standpoint, which is where the big data, the demonstrated interest, the engagement comes in. To build on this even further, what we've seen is that there's 3 distinct triggers that cause schools to look at social media of applicants. The first one is, this is an interesting applicant. This trigger could occur when somebody's reading an essay. It could be a very compelling story being told. And that can cause an admissions officer to say, I want to learn more about this applicant. It could be by student invitation. If you want to learn more about me, take a look at my LinkedIn profile. Here's the URL. Or here's a portfolio of my photography. And there's a URL to an Instagram account. And then it could be by online engagement. Students engaging with schools on Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Someone is going to be watching this. Somebody is seeing this on the other side. There are people behind every account. And these all can trigger social media review at the college level. This was an interesting quote, and it came out last year, and I think it was in January of 2017. The Harvard Crimson, the student newspaper at Harvard, asked the dean of admissions, does Harvard look at applicants' social media? This was his quote, and I think this is very relevant for everybody who's here as a college counselor. Dean Fitzsimmons was quoted as saying, if someone sends us a link of any kind, it doesn't have to be from some company or some organization. If it seems relevant to making the best possible case for that person's admission, we will certainly take a look at it. Now, that's an important statement because you could tell that this was carefully thought out, because he's not saying we're going to look at everybody. I mean, if people are not qualified by grades, test scores, and some other metrics that get you past the initial review, they're not going to take a look at it even if you invite them to. But if they get past that initial scrutiny and there is a link on an application to someone's social media, at least Harvard, and we're going to show you some statistics in a second, they are certainly going to take a look at it. Again, they're looking for students of character, students who have shown commitment. They want certain attributes. And we could talk about it, and maybe during the question and answer, what happened last June when Harvard rescinded admissions to 10 students. That was all about character, right? And that's really spelled out on the Harvard website. But this is a very important point, I think, for everyone on this call, that if a student invites a college to look, depending on the college, again, the large public institutions probably won't, but apart from that, the case is probably pretty good. It is getting really actionable information in front of people. So in taking everything that I've said here, we've tried to come up with a guide here. And you haven't seen this anywhere else because this is Social Assurity's business. We've broken out on the bottom, you have your large public universities that are getting 60, 70, 80, UCLA over 100,000 applications. They tell everybody on their website, this is how we're going to decide traditional metrics. That's one set of schools. The middle set of schools I call character and fit, and you see this a lot at the elite public and private universities, the Harvards, the Dukes, the Northwesterns, the Rice, Emory, Vanderbilt. They talk a lot about character and fit. Okay? And then you've got some of the smaller schools who talk about holistic. There's right now over 1,000 accredited schools that are test optional. And they certainly are looking for more information to make an informed decision about their students. On the left side are the 3 steps of the admissions process. You've got the initial app review, you've got enrollment yield, and scholarships. Now, I've put in here some guidelines as to the probability of social media being looked at. And I think as you go up, enrollment yield is algorithmic. There are systems that are monitoring student engagement on social media. There are systems that are connecting student identities, prospect identities with social media. So they can put in a value. If we admit the student, will they enroll? Again, a very important trigger. And then, of course, when it comes to scholarships, once the admissions decision has been made, right, how much money, how much aid are we going to give them to draw them in so we can fill our class? And I think, from a low probability in the lower left-hand corner to, I think it's fairly high in everything we've seen on the enrollment side, there's a great chance that they'll be looking. So this is a way of, in these past 15 minutes of this build-up, basically the way we're seeing things. It's granular, it's stratified. So you have to, as a counselor, know your school, know the positioning of the student for that school, and then pull these levers to help increase the chance of an admission, increase the chance for merit aid. And I think you can use social media wisely in your practice to get there. And there's a survey that was done last July by the American Association of Collegiate Registrars and Admissions Officers. It did not get a lot of attention, but I think this really reflects and gives and quantifies our approach to social media and college admissions. So they asked 530 college admissions officers and people in enrollment management, does your institution monitor social media for any stage of the admissions decision process? 40% said they'll review social media content if it's brought to their attention. It's not part of their standard practice, but if it's brought to their attention. And I think this goes into the student invitation. All right? Take a look at my photography portfolio on Instagram. Please, here's the link to my YouTube channel. Here's my LinkedIn profile. There's an invitation, there's a URL in the application. It's brought to their attention, they'll look. 24% said this is amazing to me, because I think this is a really high number, that social media is reviewed regularly and routinely. And if you go to the source, this is, again, the smaller schools, private schools, but to the fact that almost a quarter of them say it's reviewed regularly and routinely. This is big. 14% say it's reviewed occasionally but not routinely, and 22% of schools do not monitor social media of applicants under any circumstance. And I think it's safe to say that those are the larger public universities. Now, they also asked them at what stage or stages of the admissions decision process do you monitor social media? And this was really interesting because in the report of this survey, there was people admissions officers of the same school who said we do not monitor social media under any circumstance. There were also people in enrollment who said, yeah, we do. So there are silos here. And again, the odds of a student's social media being accessed and reviewed, whether it's by the initial admissions officer or through enrollment management, is increasing. So here, even 44% are looking at the prospect stage. This is your CRM. This is your enrollment management tool, your student engagement through the website, through email openings, all this back-end digital marketing and social media marketing. They're doing that to get an idea of who the students are and their level of interest. 51% will look upon receipt of a complete application. 52% once an admissions decision has been made. So that goes to merit aid. right? That goes, how much money are we going to give this student to get them here? If we offer them X, will they enroll? Okay, and then 46% is still looking once an offer of admissions has been accepted. So you can see that even these surveys are supporting our approach, that it's multi-staged, it's not one size fits all, and it's certainly not a binary decision of whether a college will look at social media or not. It's automated, there's several triggers along the way, and I think it's safe to say that for most schools and most students, their social media is a tool. Their social media can be in support of their application. It can help them get admitted. It can help them get a better package to go. So with that said, I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes or so now helping you as counselors understand how this would look and what students would need to do to succeed in this environment. Okay. The first step, and I think this is what sets our approach and our teaching apart from anyone else. Teens need their safe social media space. There was recently a survey or research that was done by University of California at Irvine that kind of proved out what everybody thinks. But teens today carefully curate their persona, one post at a time. So they are defining their persona to their friends by what they post, where they post, and how they post. So by telling them, post, you just won an award with the Eagle Scouts. Why don't you post that to social media? That will be good for college. That's probably the worst thing you can tell because they will not do it. Because that's going to interfere with the persona that they're curating for their friends. And what we do when, as adults, as parents, as advisors, when we start telling them, only post things you would want your grandmother to see, or be positive, all this stuff, they're just going to move their activities away from where we are. And they think they can hide. They think that they're anonymous. And again, they're going to be where their friends are because they're curating a persona for their friends. So they've gone to Snapchat. They went heavy into Instagram, and then adults followed them to Instagram. And so we'll talk a little bit about the concept of the fake Instagram account. Vero is another platform that is just skyrocketing now. Almost every article about social media is about this new platform, Vero. And Musical.ly has been a really creative platform for teens, far away from the watchful eye. So what you want to do is let them have their social media space with your friends. You don't want to interfere with that. But what you do want to say, and what we teach, right, is go have fun with your friends. But just remember 3 things. You're never anonymous. Your posts will never disappear. And because you're never anonymous and your posts will never disappear, all posts are discoverable. Some are harder to find than others, but ultimately, they are discoverable. All right? You say these 3 things. We say these 3 things to our students. They get it. They're smart. They'll understand that even, that everything they do is traceable. And they're going to guide themselves accordingly because they do know that colleges and employers are looking. They know that. But they think, well, I've never posted anything bad, right? And the problem with that is this false equivalence between nothing to hide and something to show. 2 very distinct things. So we are all about teaching them something to show. And this is how we view it. Okay? Adults, whether they're, 20-somethings, college admissions officers, administrators in college, employers, okay, they're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if they're looking for a student and I think the number is 95% of teens today in this country are active on social media. So they expect to find you. When they're looking, they want to find you. So the idea here is for them to be taught, college-bound teens to be taught how to create content, not to impress their friends or define a persona to their friends, but to create content and post on platforms where colleges will look. Make it easy for them to find you. LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go have fun with your friends. Snapchat, your fake Instagram account, with whatever platform on the bottom. But the idea is by building discoverable and public content that tells your story to people who've never met you but will be making important decisions about you. You want that content to rise to the top. And this is the idea. So we bifurcate their social media activities. Don't interfere with that, but we teach them how to build a presence and a digital portfolio and engagement skills for their what we call future audiences. And we get them along these lines. So I asked the question, and hopefully maybe you're asking this question there, and as you're listening to this, how can you as educational advisors, as college advisors, help your students prepare for social media scrutiny? Well, again, I just mentioned, have them create a unique and discoverable professional digital presence. And it is okay for a student to have a private Instagram account and a public Instagram account. We teach them how to adjust their settings, how to leverage Google, which we'll talk about in a minute. Have them build an informative digital portfolio. And this is where the value add of you as advisors come in, that aligns with their college application and the student positioning. If there's a skill or an experience, right, that helps them stand out, have the social media be the social proof of that. When I speak to teens, I always tell the story about the admissions officer who read an essay. And if any of you have heard me speak before, you've heard this story. But it brings this point home. The essay was written by a student, and she said that the most meaningful experience of her life, for as long as she could remember, was that every Christmas Eve, her parents would take her, and as a family, they would volunteer in a soup kitchen to help feed the homeless on Christmas Eve. And, the essay was all about values and appreciating where she was. A beautifully written essay, as it was told to me. The trigger was the reader, the essay reader, was so interested in this person that they went to find her on social media. When they got to her Facebook page, as the story goes, the last 3 Christmas Eves, she was skiing with her family far away from any soup kitchens. And there were pictures of her being at parties on Christmas Eve. So it was just all made up. It didn't align with the application. But what I tell everybody is, if the student was aware of this, you would write something that's the truth. But let's assume for a second, okay? If her Facebook page showed photos of her working in a soup kitchen for the past couple of years on Christmas Eve, or if she had a blog about it with pictures, something that was discoverable, that aligned with what she's putting out on her application, that's powerful. That's what they're looking for. Okay? Third bullet point, understand the importance of strategic social media engagement. Okay? They have to understand that when they're liking colleges' Facebook pages or Instagram accounts or commenting on that, they're not dealing with their friends. They are dealing with institutions of higher learning. There are people looking at that. And this is opportunity. Again, if you go into the CRM packages, this is being measured and being applied to the equation of likelihood to enroll. This is strategic. Understand how it works. Fourth point, appreciate the value of character, service, and fit. and use social media as the rich delivery platform to provide that information to a college. You know, the Common App is really not designed to deliver this kind of information. So you have to have supplement, and social media is a great way to get your attributes, your leadership, resilience, grit, your community service, your family service, and to answer the fit questions through photos, through rich media. And then again, we think it's important to convey full transparency by inviting a college, by providing the URL to your social media account for them to look. And we do know that we're increasing the likelihood that they are going to click on that link to look, and then think about how much more actionable information you're giving to the college, whether it's admissions or enrollment or merit. And let's take a look I want to just take you now through some slides on how this all looks. So this student, right, this student took our courses, and if you Google him, right, look what comes up. LinkedIn is always going to come up first when you follow the advice we give in our courses. We make sure that you own the first page of Google, and LinkedIn will always come up first. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn on a Google search, as you can see here, is that Google will index the headline and your summary statement right in a Google search result. So for Terry here, the first thing people are going to see is he's at the University of Mississippi. He's an intern in the office of Senator Cochran. And the first couple of lines, or sentences, I should say, of his summary statement. That's powerful. And you can see how it compares to his LinkedIn profile. But right underneath LinkedIn is his Facebook page, and you have his Twitter down below. And one of the things that that we teach is elements of branding using the same username, the same profile photos, just so people will know it's you from platform to platform. Okay? That's how you get it into Google. The other thing that's important that we teach that we think will help them engage smarter with colleges is understanding that they need to get their public profiles put together for that audience, right? Not for their friends, but to get their if they want to use Twitter, if they want to use LinkedIn, we'll talk about Facebook in a second, or Instagram. They want to make sure that the profiles are in place. Because once you start engaging, right, you are delivering your digital DNA, right, your history, who you are, to the people on the other side. I recently wrote, earlier this week, we published an article on LinkedIn about a blog post on our website. I'm going to answer some questions. I see some questions are coming in, and I will get to those. But we think LinkedIn is just a great place for students to start. Number one, we teach them how to build a skills-based digital portfolio, how to leverage LinkedIn's network, and there's colleges that they can follow. I mean, just about every college has a LinkedIn page, which shows the alumni and employees. In this case, Harvey Mudd College, I'm using this as an example because we had a great story come across a couple of weeks ago. There was a student who was working with one of the counselors who embed our courses into their practice. And after their student built a LinkedIn profile, she was interested in engineering and studying engineering. And the counselor presented her or introduced her to Harvey Mudd College. She had never heard of it. And they went on LinkedIn and saw the college and followed the college, went through the news feed. And this student, and in the news feed on LinkedIn, there was an article that she had written. And it was how her goal and her vision for Harvey Mudd is to bring more women into the STEM field as students. And this really spoke to that student. So she sent the president of Harvey Mudd an email, a message through LinkedIn, and she had built a really nice LinkedIn profile, which gave a lot of information about the student. And she wrote the president, said, I read your article, and it touched me in many ways, and she explained why. Very genuine, very authentic note. The very next day, the head of admissions of Harvey Mudd called the student personally, if you have any questions, we just want to make sure your application's complete. If you have any questions about it. So obviously the president received this note, looked at her profile, and then asked that the head of admissions give her a call. We don't know if she's been accepted or not. I hope she will be, because it will make the story even better than it already is. But this is happening every day. This is not an exception to the rule. We have to also understand, and we do teach, the powers of Facebook. All right? Facebook is a monster. 2 billion people every month on this planet sign into Facebook. All the other platforms are dwarfed by Facebook's size. So you can put together a great LinkedIn profile, informative, like you're seeing here. You can learn a lot about this student just by looking at that profile. Her name, her cover, the cover photo of the curtains is brilliant. But people are going to want to see you on Facebook, and one of the things we teach is that most of the students aren't really active on Facebook. They created their Facebook account when they were, 13, 14, 15, and Facebook will default them to private. And so this goes to a question that's come through here. Can a college discover a student's Facebook profile if they aren't accepted as a friend? And the answer is yes. So what you see here, this student, her Facebook page is set to private, but you can still see that she has a page. You can still see all of her photos, all of her friends, and her profile photos. Nothing more. And Facebook just recently has updated their page, so even if her page is private, I can go friend by friend of this student and see who she's friends with if I wanted to. But what we teach is we show them how to create the settings so you can have a Facebook profile for your friends and family, and for people you're not friends with, you can give information out that's informative about you, about what you want them to know about you, your interests, your activities, your commitment, all the things that you would want, whether it's an admissions officer or an enrollment manager or a member of a scholarship committee to see. So we try to we work with the students to bring Facebook in as a tool, as an asset. And then, we love LinkedIn. We like LinkedIn for two very important reasons, and that is it is a very flexible platform, and it really, when students are taught how to build a portfolio, and we tell them forget about any professional experience you've had, any jobs you've had, talk about your activities, your organizations. Talk about them in terms of skills that you've recognized you possessed or you refined as a result of it. And it really makes it for a very vibrant platform. And the reason number two we like it is the only social media platform that, as most of you know on the call, will let you know when somebody has looked at your profile. So you can kind of keep track of what colleges are looking, when they're looking, and you can get an idea of how things are going. But we have students who are very creative, who are more visual, and they would prefer, instead of writing about things, they want to use photos, use video. And, Instagram, as I said earlier, can be a great platform The account you're looking at here on the left of Instagram is a student who wanted to study architecture. And his Instagram account, his public Instagram account, was, as you can see here, is human-made structures that he admires the most. And so he put up a photo and a little caption as to why. And over time, he had about 75, 80 photos in here, and he offered it up, the link on his applications. A lot of students are familiar with YouTube, and they want to create videos to talk about their passions, their dedication to causes, their art, and it could become it's a very effective platform to pass that along. So, there's individuality here, but what we try to teach are the tools, the essential profile building, the engagement, the how to use settings to make sure that people will see what you want them to see. So after all this, we've got a few minutes left, and I do want to keep the line open for questions. And I see questions are coming in. I will get to that. So essentially, what we deliver, and we try to work with college counselors to deliver this expertise to their clients. Through taking our courses, we get them an optimized Google presence. We teach how to build a digital portfolio. They understand the importance of personal branding, and I really don't like that term, but I'm going to use it here for you. Reputation management, social media engagement strategies, content alignment, okay, and just essential digital literacy, and that's really what I was saying before about the safe space for their interactions with their friends. There was an article in the Brown student newspaper a couple of years ago where the students of Brown wrote this editorial asking or imploring their fellow students to stop posting party pictures, because they said that was impacting the reputation of Brown as an institution. That we know how to have a good time, but we also do a lot of philanthropy. We do a lot of community service. We do a lot of research. Let's start posting that, because when people start looking at you as a student at Brown to get an idea of what happens at Brown, they need to see the whole picture. And that's what we're about. I think digital leadership, showing students who can show that they understand how to build a profile, how social media works, they're going to be respected. And there's, as far as a reputational impact for the institution, for the groups that they represent, right, it mitigates that risk. I ask you if you're interested. We're here. I'm at the end of the presentation. I'm going to go through your questions. If you check out our website, you can book a live courseware demo. I'd love to, one of us here at Social Assurity will walk you through how we do it, how we work with counselors, how we work with your practice. We're like your outsourced expert on this, and I'm going to answer some questions. I invite you to have more questions coming in. So I am recording this, and we'll put up a link on our website, or we'll send out the link if you want to share it with people who wanted to be here today and were unable to. We'll get it out to everybody who registered. So the first question that I see here, well, I think I may have answered this, but I'll give it a little more detail. How can a college discover a student's Facebook profile if they aren't accepted as a friend? Well, Facebook is a public platform. It's fully indexed by Google, and also Facebook has a very, very sophisticated search algorithm within their own platform. So you can search for the student's name or the student's high school, and you pretty much can find them. All right, it's not hard to do, and again, I think the issue is not that you can't find them; it's that by default, these Facebook pages are set to private. But even as private, the public is still seeing your photos and your friends and your interests. They may not be seeing your posts, but it's seeing enough that it may not give a clear picture of who you are. The next question that I see here, and I love this question: what if a student does not want a social media presence? This comes up all the time, and I think it's important that a lot of engaged, ambitious, intelligent students don't want to get caught up in social media because they don't want to. It's just drama. It's a lot of teen drama, and they don't have time for it. Now, what we say to them is, we teach them how to use social media as a way to find people who share their interests, influencers, perhaps thought leaders in the areas and the fields that they're interested in. And it's really a way for them to create or engage in a community who shares their interests. So if they're looking at it, a lot of students won't engage in social media because it's nonsense, because of just the social aspect of it. But we're taking this in a different direction and severing it. So we're seeing a lot of students who never engage with their friends or their peers, okay? But when they learn how to engage with college communities, and we teach them how to follow professors and engage with professors at universities that they're interested in attending, what they're doing is that they're introducing themselves through different channels into school communities. And the rewards and the feedback are instantaneous. We have students who are being followed on Twitter by professors at colleges, and these students are juniors because they're doing smart engagement on Twitter. And Twitter happens to be a great platform for college-bound teens because it is very popular in the college community, whether it's, you can go to some universities, they'll have a general Twitter account. Office of Admissions will have a Twitter account. Each school within a university might have it. So it could be, the School of Political Science or the business school, environmental studies, whatever. And they would have their own presence and basically conversations within that community, and students can enter that. And, we teach this, there's a skill and a science to it, but the students who actually take the step and start doing it, they're discovered, and they're going to get opportunity presented to them that other students may not, because they're introducing themselves in a very smart, authentic way. The last question that I see here, and please ask your questions, use the chat, use the chat feature. And the question is, have you done much work with ZME? Well, the answer is we're very aware of ZME, and I think ZME is the ZME video is a way for the student to introduce themselves to an admissions officer in a very defined way, and I think it gives a lot of important information to the schools that are using it, the Common App schools that are using ZME. But what we see social media as a much bigger tool. Okay, it's public. We get asked this question. Well, can people just make things up on social media? And quite honestly, it's just the opposite. Because social media is public, you're going to get called out on it. People are going to see it, and they are going to call you out on it if it's not true. The stories abound, and I don't like getting into all the negative stories that you hear about social media, but the stories do abound of all the bad outcomes. But I can assure you, as a social media expert to college professionals that you are, the upside is tremendous here. Again, the schools are getting more applications in. They're not increasing the number of seats, right? So they're getting more applications. And to get more applications, a lot of them are taking less information, and they're a business. So they're looking at enrollment management. They're looking at other elements, and social media is there for them, and the numbers and the stats are there. So it's incumbent that we teach our students how to use it, how to use social media apart from their friends, but to build a discoverable, Google indexed portfolio that will tell their story in a very aligned way to colleges, to enrollment managers, to scholarship committees. Another question just came in. Thank you. It says, when is it a good idea for a student to have their own portfolio website as opposed to just social media? I think a portfolio website is fine, and I think it's the same concept here. One of the things that we like about social is the priority placement it gets in Google searches. But some students, embrace the About Me page, or putting together, if they're writers, putting together a series of blog posts that people can see. And so I think it becomes, the answer to your question is own portfolio website as opposed to just social media. I think it becomes a personal question, but one thing I did not get into in this conversation is social recruitment, which is where people are using social media to find and identify students or employees who have the skills and the attributes they're looking for. So you may get more bang out of your buck by being on a public social media. Another question, what platform do you recommend teachers and students use as a way of communicating when they are involved in a club organization? I think hands down, LinkedIn. And one of the things about LinkedIn that's great too is that students can ask for recommendations from teachers or faculty advisors, and that can get posted right into their LinkedIn profile. It's something that we teach the students to do. Next question, some of my students send comprehensive resumes to colleges. Would it be redundant to ask a college to view their LinkedIn profile if they're already sent the college a resume? And the answer is no, because LinkedIn is not a resume. And we make that very clear when we teach students. It is not your resume. It's not two-dimensional. All right? LinkedIn gives the students a chance to describe their activities and their interests and their commitments in a way that highlights attributes or skills learned or refined as a result of that. It gives them a chance to upload videos or link to articles or articles they've written. It's a very rich site, and it could be it's almost like a supplement to the resume or the personal statement on the application. And I would love to talk more about that, but I see it as two separate things. And I think the biggest mistake both students and professionals make on LinkedIn is they think LinkedIn is just an online resume. So, for example, on a resume, you may say, I played lead violin in my high school orchestra for 4 years. Well, on LinkedIn, you can write a little bit more about it. How many hours, a week do you spend at rehearsals and practicing? How do you keep your grades that high with all that time going to this activity? Well, that's time management. Do you ever miss a rehearsal? Well, I can't, because it's not fair to the others. Elements of teamwork, commitment. I've been with this activity since I was 8 years old or 10 years old. It just gives them really rich information. We have a few minutes left, so I just want to get to the last two questions here. Do you give different advice to international students? Yes. So this question is China, where some of the platforms are not available. LinkedIn is available in China. And so, yeah, we would go for building the digital portfolio on LinkedIn, but we know we have a lot of Chinese students who are coming to high school here in the United States. And if they're here in the States, we work with their advisors and they can then build their Twitter and Facebook account, which are, for the time being, blocked in China. And last question, and thank you everybody for staying with me for the full hour. This is awesome. But the last question that I see here is, do you work directly with students, or is your program a series of online lessons they can do at their own pace? We do both, but when we work with college counselors like yourselves, we private label our courseware that you can deliver to your students, and they can do it at their own pace. The courseware is actionable, and this is where we would love to, if you sign up for a demo, you can see the courseware in action. We will show it to you. We design the courseware with input from high school students, so it's engaging, it's short bursts of information, and they can do it at their own pace. We do have a service where some families, as you all probably know better than us, would like somebody to do it, help their kids walk through it personally. So we also offer that, but we prefer working with counselors to provide our courseware to your students. And the reason why we do that, we're not college advisors. We don't know how to position a student for a certain school. That's where you can work with them once they get the fundamentals of social media down, that they can really tailor their social media profiles and their level of engagement to optimize opportunities for target schools. So I hope that answers your question. I'm going to wrap up. Again, thank you. My email is Alan, A-L-A-N, at socialassurity.com. If you have any other questions, please shoot me an email. Please go to our website. There's a tab that says counselors. You can schedule a demo online. And really thank you for spending the time today. And I hope this was informative and helpful. So thank you very much, and have a good day.